Hello, everyone. My name is Alekov, and today is 8th of May, 2023, and I'm continuing my series Daily Reality with Alex. And today I would like to speak about the reality of kings. And I would like to tell you how these experiences that some of us had during the weekend with the coronation of the king, how we can implement them in our daily reality, and to understand why we have several archetypes that are existing in our realities, and it doesn't matter if they directly or indirectly correlate to each of us individually. It is good to understand and to know how to use them. What is important to understand that everything in reality is in order, and we as the human beings, by replicating the order of reality, we are also trying to duplicate and to go through the law of the correspondence and to be as much as possible alike to the above. And what is important to know in reality, that we have three very distinct components. The component number one is the content, everything that is coming to us through the 5 data senses. Then we have the context, how we decode and why we decode exactly in this specific way the 5 data senses. And the third part, which is the most fundamental one, is what is holding the experience, and this is called the construct of reality. For me, everything, once we start extracting, once we start decoding all of our experiences, if we want to educe, if we want to come close to understanding and close to wisdom, we are to be able to move out of the realm of experience in order to enter the realm of causes, but also to go beyond the realm of causes and to understand the realm of essence, and why essence is not possible to exist if it's not put and hold into a construct. By the way, creation has appeared into the physical matter and non-physical matter reality. First, everything started with building a construct that is able to hold the essence, and the last part of the creation was the content to appear. And of course, when we add the intelligence in the picture, we are coming to the individualized parts of consciousness that are constantly giving meaning and decoding the experience. Why all these circles are important to be constantly realized and to be able to move out of one realm and stay into the other. But for example, if we are able just to decode or to become aware that everything that appears, for example, everything that appears behind me now in Greece, Halkidiki, it's part of the things and is part from my decoding of reality. But then how I'm decoding and what context I'm giving to my experience in the moment is going to create different perspective. For example, you can say, well, Alex, you are in the moment in Greece while we are working in Europe, and you are having a relaxation time and a rejuvenational time. Or we can decode my reality in the moment. Well, Alex, you are working in the moment and you're trying to influence people with your message and your communication. Maybe you're trying to convince us something and you are using this content behind you and you are sharing it with us because you are conveying something more. And we can go into different type of deciphering and decoding the content in order to extract meaning and awareness. But also the third part of reality is to understand the context, the content, why all is as it is and why it's not possible the solid part of reality where the construct is in all of the realms to be different than what it already is. And here is where the different type of archetypes and the different type of roles and their existence had appeared in our reality, and the king archetype is there for a purpose, because it's constantly reminding us the principle of order. It's constantly reminding us that there are no possibilities for horizontal relationship between the things to exist without the vertical relationship of order also to be present. It is important because in order chaos not to exist, in order everything to be in harmony, something is to hold the essence, and this something is the construct that is built through the power of the elements. And the king figure, in some extent, as we are little by little getting aware by the way it is presented before us, it doesn't matter if it's a conspiracy theory or is it a ritual type of experience, since it's coming to the perception of more than billions of people around the world that something is happening somewhere else that is not directly related to us, since we are not under the direct subjection of this particular king. And there are different deviations that appears in all of our experience where, for example, while I'm in Greece, I'm subjected to the laws and the construct formation of order in this typical country. But wherever I'm moving, I'm always under order. And the king archetype is representation of the higher order of things. And because of this, when we move to reality, we are constantly to understand also the verticality of reality and how things are placed in the vertical realm of existence also. Because the higher and higher we go into this vertical appearance of things, there are different elements and structures that are there to sustain this part of the experience also. And the main goal is the horizontal experience of the relationships between the individualized consciousnesses to be done in such a way that everything to be objective, everything to experience all that was destined to be experienced by this specific type of individualized consciousnesses. And that's why the kings which are taken out of us are to govern and to secure this vertical relationship between the beings and the above. It is for a reason why we are trying to derive some type of a link between the kingships and what is above, and the king to be some type of a mediator between the above and the order and our horizontal type of relationships and experience, where we are giving up freely the construct that is holding everything to also become part of the social engineering of how we are relating to each other in order we as human beings to experience the so-called civilization. And when we go into this direction, we are starting to understand that beyond the construct, what is the most important thing is the essence to be able to have its freedom to appear in its purest form in all levels of creation, to the extent that everything is possible to express its beauty, to express its purpose, and to express its destiny. Not only the human beings, but everything that is part of the existence is governed by the so-called rule of law and order. That's why a lot of times when I'm communicating with people that are more closely related to anarchy, not monarchy, not monoarchontics or archontypes. And this is why we have the archons. This is why we have the rulerships. This is why we have the principalities. This is why we have the powers. The initial idea of this was good. Of course, we can have so many examples of the abusing of all these type of archetypes that are part of our existence. And this is why I don't want to go into different type of details of the expression of this type of kingly archetype, but I would like to tell you, just for example, two interesting topics. Just imagine that we have kings that are not from our realm, but we can define them so-called as extraterrestrial. If we had rulership that is from an essence that is higher in consciousness, higher in everything than ourselves, then we are not going to accept such type of rulership, because we are going to say, well, this type of rulership is not from our essence, it's not from our realm of experience, and we are not going to be authentically and freely willing to subject to such type of kingship. That's why it's very important to realize, though there are different conspiracy theories, that the construct is keeping that the different type of kingships are based only on the essence of the specific individualized consciousness experience, for example, in the realm of the human beings. Even if this kingly archetype exists, it is only possible to be from the human race. Then, of course, a lot of us that are believing in the existence of God, and let me give you a new definition of what God is. Because if we say that God is the king of all of the egos, of the individualized consciousness, and is responsible for the governments of all the so-called individual personalities and egos in all the realms of creation of the different essences in all types of dimensions. And this type of king of all the type of kings in the different realms and dimensions of creation, for sure it's a multidimensional being in order to relate with all the different types of essences that it is to govern. And then you can ask me, Alex, but how are we as human beings to know that the king is representing to some extent some type of a divine power, but he is also one of us? And as I many times mentioned, we are multidimensional beings. We are not only experience existence in one realm. So in a sense, the kingly archetype is able to be seen and be presented in all the dimensions. And the earthly material kings that are governing over our common good, in order we ought to be able to have such an experience that we actually feel more freedom to express, but under order, more freedom to relate with each other, but under the vertical order. Then you can understand why this so powerful principle is allowed to be part of the experience of billions of people around the world. And of course, why long term there is such a big fight about who is going to be the king over and upon all the human race. And of course, all the human beings are willing and ready to open themselves towards the rulership of the divine if it's not defined. If it's particularly defined, what about if we don't like it? What about if we are not 100% sure that it is going to be out of our essence? What about if we are not sure that this type of being is going to support everything that is important for humanity? Why don't we move into the resistance movement against all order? Why don't we go into the freedom and individualization movement only, where we are constantly against all order? Or even if we go into the other camp, where we are willing to give up everything and to be subdued, it doesn't matter from whom. It doesn't matter what are the agendas that are going to be put upon us, and we are willingly allowing to be micromanaged by the rulership of the vertical to such extent that everything in our horizontal experience is only obey, 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 obey. Don't make any more choices in the horizontal experience. It doesn't matter to what extent they are delusional or non-delusional. We as human beings cannot exist without the freedom of choice. And paradoxically, we cannot exist without the subordination also. But the balance between the horizontal and the vertical should be in such an extent that in all my choices, I know what is allowed, but I also understand my freedoms and my choices. And this is why it is long-term for all of us in our daily reality important to start noticing also the vertical relationships in everything, because it is going to help us so much to understand better reality and to be much more functional beings. And we are going to be able much more easy to know where to put our energy, our attention, and our focus into our daily experience in order everything that we are experiencing to be beneficial for our own growth, but growth in the sense of allowing more of the essence to be able to appear in the physical matter reality. Because the vertical experience and the horizontal experience end point and end result is going to be beautiful if everything in creation is able to express itself really in coherence and synchronicity and respect towards everything else. So the relationship principle is moving in such a directions horizontally and vertically, so that we are constantly allowing each other the freedom of expression. And then the kings are governing and allowing more of the essence to appear. And then, of course, there is a big long-term conflicts that are already here before our existence even. And because of these conflicts, there are some tendencies of fights between the different movements, urges, and sparks, but still the fundamental principles are the same. It doesn't matter which camp you are in. Long term, the destination is towards one king of everything in all the realms of existence. And everything in nature to understand that subjection and obedience to the one ruler of everything is to be done in order everything to express and to experience its own essence. So thank you for watching again, and enjoy your daily reality while noticing more the vertical relationships also, and not only the horizontal. Bye-bye and enjoy your reality.